All right, guys, this one I cannot wait for, man. I've been wanting to do an upgrade like this for a long time on this car. Definitely wanted to put a backbone in this thing that can handle the power. We're making some pretty decent power and pretty decent torque with this thing right now. So I cannot launch. Luckily, if I put sticky tires on this thing right now, we all know that 10 bolt is history. But if you're driving on the street, you're having fun, and you're really not running a huge sticky tire, that 10 bolt will survive behind LS power, especially the LS3. This thing's probably pushing around 500 or so, probably a little bit over 500 at the crank. I'm thinking maybe 450 to the wheels and probably 480 in torque, which is way more than the old 10 bolt can handle. So we're gonna get the rear end upgrade on this thing. I cannot wait. This is one I've been wanting to do for a long time. We'll talk about this one later, but man, here it is, guys. We're finally getting around to putting the 9-inch in. This is made by a company called Quick Performance. If you haven't heard of them by now, I don't know, you must be living under a rock, but man, they make some pretty trick stuff. Quality is dead on. Cannot wait. We also got the UMI adjustable torque arm to set the pinion angle to get it exactly where we need it to get. Man, I am thrilled. So we're gonna go through and do some assembly on this thing. I'm gonna show some assembly on this thing. It's gonna be a learning process as well because I've never actually put a 9-inch together. Rear ends are kind of like a special art form. So luckily, the reason I did go with the 9-inch is because you have the housing and the third member with the gear set all in one. So gear changes is really easy, and you can pick them up used or pre-assembled and not have to do it, and you can swap them out really easy. So let's take a quick look, and we're gonna run through some of the assembly. All right, guys, so we're gonna get busy on doing some assembly on the 9-inch. We're gonna get the axles installed as well as the backing plates. As far as the rear brakes, we're running the LS1, so we're gonna get all that mocked up and see exactly what we gotta do to make the e-brake work. I did get some e-brake cables off of Hawks, so these are conversion cables for the LS1 rear calipers to work with the 3rd gen e-brakes. So they got the 4th gen ends on them, but everything else should work. So we're gonna get everything buttoned up and exactly just kind of see and go from there. So we've got pads, about the whole kit. We got the rotors, new calipers for the LS1. We're gonna get all this stuff assembled and get it ready to go, and we're gonna see what kind of challenges we might have to work through. So I'm gonna put you guys down and we're gonna go through and do some assembly. All right, guys, so the only thing I'm gonna knock Quick Performance on so far is their instructions. They're super weak. They really are very vague. They don't give you hardly anything to go off of. I'm not a rear end professional. This is gonna be my first rear end assembly. So luckily I was able to dig up some forums, call around, get some information. If you do call Quick Performance, they will kind of help give you the info you need. As far as the axles, as you can tell, they're 2 different size lengths. The passenger side is the longer one, so it's gonna be on the passenger side. The driver side is the shorter one. If you are running the LS1 style backing plates, I had to have these backing plates on and the bearings pressed in by a local driveline shop. So I had the bearings pressed on because this backing plate will not clear the bearing. So now that we got that all figured out, we're gonna go ahead and start the assembly. All right, guys, so what we need to do right now, we're gonna install the axle seals. So I'm gonna make sure the area is nice and clean, hit it with a little brake clean. And then I went down to O'Reilly's and I rented a axle seal driver set. And I think what I'm gonna do is just add a little bit of, I'm just gonna add a little tiny bit of silicone around this thing. Just to help everything seal a little bit better. Alright, guys, so now that we got a thin little bead of silicone around the axle, I think what I'm gonna do is also, I wanna put just a little bit of grease on the inside. I'm gonna make a mess. So I think I'm just gonna add a little bit of grease on the inside of the seal, just to kind of help in case something gets damaged with sliding the axle seal in. I don't know if this is necessary or not, but I feel like I want to do it. Now, just gonna set this in there, get it semi-lined up, and we're gonna drive it in. And it sounded like it bottomed out right there. And that looks good. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. All right, now we got the axle seal in. We're gonna go ahead and try to install the passenger side axle shaft, as well as the bearing and the backing plate. All right guys, so as far as the axle shaft, this is actually a 35 spline axle shaft. This thing's pretty heavy duty, so I don't think we're gonna even come close to ever breaking this thing. Not for right now, at least. And what I think I'm gonna do is just add just a little bit of grease under the splines. Kind of help everything slide in a little bit easier. And so we've got our axle shaft. We got the lock ring, the bearing, and the LS1 backing plate. So we're gonna slide this puppy in and see. Probably want to be a little careful of that seal. Don't want to put the whole weight of this thing on it. All right, I think I'm just gonna run a tiny bit of grease along the bearing race. Gonna help it slide in just a little bit easier. This should work. So basically, all right, the splines are engaged, I can feel that. Now we need to get the bearing installed. Okay, it all looks like it's going in pretty nice. Now, I know if you are running a different style backing plate, you definitely don't want to bang the bearing in completely flush. Like if you have a bracket with the bevel on the inside, you probably want to leave this sticking out by about 1/8 of an inch. With these ones, I go completely flush because that's the way they mount. So that's just something to keep in mind too, guys. So we are almost there. I think a couple more hits and I think we're in. All right, that looks good to me. See, we're nice and flush. Oh, when this backing plate goes on. Nice and flat. All right, guys, I think this side's good. I can feel the axle splines are engaged. So we're gonna move on to the driver's side now and do the same thing over again. I'm not gonna bore you with all that. So, all right, guys, too, one thing I didn't cover, I lost footage of the install, was actually installing the third member into the housing. It's pretty straightforward, so you got to drive your studs down. What I did was I stacked about 5 or 6 washers on top of each other, and then I used a ratchet and I cranked the stud in, and then I pulled it off. You definitely need to use the washers because there is a part of the stud that does not have threads, and if you don't use the washers, you will wreck the threads on the nut. It will be spinning onto a part where there is no threads. So this is a Curry unit. I got it used off the marketplace. I got a smoking deal on it, so I hope everything's good. But for 600 bucks, it was completely brand new, never used. The guy bought it for, or the guy's dad bought it for one of his builds, ended up passing away, so I bought it from the son. It's got 411 gears, a posi unit, and this is actually a trophy truck rear end, so it's super, super strong. Made by Courier. So I think this thing is going to be pretty much bulletproof. It does have the 35 spline axles, like I mentioned before. Basically, lay a nice bead of silicone, or I didn't use silicone, I used some stuff called the right stuff. It dries super quick. I mean, within a couple minutes, this thing would be solid. Lay a nice fat bead, shove it in there, torque everything down to 35 foot-pounds, and that's basically it on the housing. Super easy. So I just wanted to cover that a little bit before I moved on. Alright guys, so the T-bolts did work out really well. I'm assuming that's what those are for the backing plates, because the clearance back here was just too tight with the stock LS1 backing plate bolt. There's a couple of them that are hard to get to, so what I did was actually use a shallow well 14 millimeter, and I dropped one bolt in there, and then I could put the other bolt on top, and then I could actually get in there like this and get it threaded, and that worked out pretty well. So we're gonna get these backing plates buttoned up and continue to move on to more assembly. Okay guys, so this is the next day. I ran into a bit of a snag. I somehow threw away my brake caliper mounting bolts. They got lost. These are really hard to find for the LS1 style, but a little trick that I did find today is, if you look up a 2004 Impala, here's the part numbers of the one I use. They are the exact same size as the LS1, and they even come with a 12.8 or 9 grade and a little bit of Loctite on the end too. So these work perfectly for the LS1 caliper backing plates. Alright guys, so we're going to get these rear brake calipers installed so we can see what we're going to need to do for the e-brake setup. Like I said before, I did get a pair of the Hawks third gen to fourth gen conversion e-brake cable. So we're going to see how we can mount some brackets to hold the levers to pull the e-brake, but we're going to go ahead and get the brakes mounted right now. And what I think I'm going to do is put a little bit of Loctite on the bolts. Make sure these things don't back off. And I got these LS1 calipers as a whole kit off of Amazon. Well, we better put the rotor on first. Let's see. Alright, we're going to put the rotor on. And we got a little bit of Loctite on these. We're going to get this started. Gonna get these things on. I think I'm gonna torque these puppies down to about 80 foot-pounds with a little bit of Loctite on them. Oh gosh, it's starting to twist. Those on. So I did get these off of Amazon for the LS1. It's a complete LS1 rear setup. It comes with pads, rotors, drilled and slotted rotors, and calipers, brackets, everything you need to get them all put on. So I figured that would be the easiest way to go. And it does look to be pretty decent quality. I don't know if they're name brand or if they're Reman or what, but for what I need them for, they will work just fine. Let's see. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these calipers finished mounted, and then we're gonna go and see how we can make the e-brake cable work and go from there. Alright, sorry guys, my GoPro battery died. I didn't get to actually shoot the rest of the brake caliper bracket install, but it's pretty simple. It's just basic brake work. Definitely want to use a little bit of Loctite on all the brake works and give it a good torque. I know these things are very commonly, they come loose very commonly, not only with the front calipers but the rear calipers. So Loctite, torque them down really good. I did mine to 80 foot-pounds around there. Some people say way more than that. I don't know. I'm gonna go with that, and just always good to do a safety check after you get everything installed. Go through, get a few miles on it, go back, check all the bolts, make sure nothing's coming loose. That's pretty important. But man, I am super happy. I cannot wait. We're gonna see what this bad boy can do. 411s with the LS3 and the T56 is gonna be spicy. I kind of was in the zone, guys. I got busy. I kind of hopped onto it. So the next video, what we're gonna have is actually installing the 9-inch into the 3rd gen. So we're gonna see what that bad boy can look like. I just got done dropping the tank real quick. I had to fix the sending unit and the gas tank. But man, I cannot wait, guys. So make sure you stay tuned. Don't forget to like this video, sub to the channel, leave a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are working on, what you're building on. Any questions, let me know. I appreciate all the support, guys. Peace.